Interestingly, in the beginning of Maulana Yusuf Rahimahullah's Hayatussahaba, he brings amazing reports by Hind radiallahu anhu, Hind bin Abi Hala. Now Hind is a very interesting name. It refers to a male Sahabi, Hind bin Abi Hala. Now who's Abu Hala? Abu Hala was the previous husband of our mother Khadija radiallahu anha. Then he passed on. When he passed away, she then wedded Janabi Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So Hazrat Hassan radiallahu anhu, he goes to his uncle, meaning his grandmother's son. His grandmother's son, Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha's son. And he says to him that please share with me beautiful accolades of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the appearance and the interesting sunnahs of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Allah's Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam's khalq and khuluq. Share with me. Because you grew up in front of him sallallahu alayhi wasallam. You saw him directly. You lived with him. And Hazrat Hassan was young when the beloved of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam left this world. Who's Hazrat Hassan? Bin Ali, the grandson of the beloved of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So we learn from here, when someone knows something, never feel shy to approach that person and learn. This is part of deen. Hazrat Hassan, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam's grandson, but he's going to Hazrat Hind and he says, please teach me. He says, I want to remember and I want to hold on to these beautiful appearance and sunnahs of Janabi Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So Hazrat Hind says, Kana Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam fakhman mufakhaman. He says Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was glorious, was extraordinary in himself and also to the onlooker. Now this is interesting. One is a person is great, but others don't know his greatness. And sometimes a person is not very special, but he thinks a lot about himself. That's an ego. Allah save us. That's why Sahaba used to say, Oh Allah, make me humble in myself, but give me respect for your sake before humanity. Allahumma ja'alni fi ayni saghira wa fi a'yuni nasi kabira. And the problem is when a person thinks very highly of himself. Interestingly, Shaitan was asked, how you trick Banu Adam? He says, one category of insan, whatever I tell him to do, he does. He's like a ball in my hand, like the ball of kids play. But you get another category of insan who tries to do good. But how I catch him is, I remind him of the good he does. إِذَا اسْتَكْثَرَ عَمَلَهُ. He starts deeming his deeds many. Oh, I do so much. I accomplish so much. I achieve so much. وَنَسِيَ ذُنُوبَهُ. He then forgets his mistakes and his wrongs. So he harps over his good and he forgets his mistakes. That makes him haughty. And Shaitan says, that's how I trick and get him deprived before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah save us. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was glorious in himself and to the onlooker. When you saw him, you knew there's no one like him. His face shone like the full moon. Tala'lu al-badr. Tala'lu al-qamar. Laylat al-badr. Like the qamar, not at any time, on a moonlit night. Because when the qamar starts, it's hilal. Qamar is mutlaq. Badr is when the moon is big. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was more beautiful than the moon. His height was perfectly tall. Atwal min al-marbu'. Marbu' is moderate height. Atwal means taller than that. So he wasn't gigantically tall. That's disturbing. Gigantically tall. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was perfectly tall. That is mushadhab, very, very gigantically tall. He was shorter than mushadhab. Mushadhab is one who's very, very tall. Tuwal. Azim al-hama. His Mubarak head was perfectly large. His Mubarak hair, rajil al-sha'r. His hair had a wave. It was straight with a wave. Sabt means straight. Rajil is it had a wave to it. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. In faraqat aqiqatu, faraq. If his hair pathed, he pathed it. Otherwise, he left it straight. Now something else interesting to know here. See, it's important to know seerah. Because other Sahaba narrate Rasulullah ﷺ pathed his hair. This hadith is saying Rasulullah ﷺ left it straight most of the time. And if it pathed itself, he let it path. What is path? The hair separates in the middle. It's called center path. But the other ahadith sahihah say, which are more asah, Rasulullah ﷺ pathed his hair. So how do we merge between the two reports? How would we do that is, those ahadith describe Rasulullah ﷺ later on, because we see it from the Sahaba who narrate it. This is a Sahabi who grows up in front of Nabi ﷺ, and he's describing the early Meccan stage. So at first, Nabi ﷺ used to leave his hair straight, because the Yahud used to leave their hair straight. The Mushrikeen used to part his hair. And if he wasn't given an instruction, he rather would do as the Yahud did, instead of what the Mushrikeen did, because that was far away, and that was totally wayward. The Yahud still had Tawheed, the Jews still had Tawheed. But then Jibreel alayhi salam told him Allah loved the way of pathing the hair, and that's when he would path his hair. Something else interesting in this hadith is aqiqah. Aqiqah refers to the original hair of insan. So another interesting discussion comes about. That's why when a child is born, we sacrifice the animal and we shave the hair. That original hair is aqiqah. And here Hazrat Hind is saying Rasulullah ﷺ's aqiqah. So there's one opinion that his hair wasn't shaved in his childhood, and then he taught it to the ummah that the hair must be shaved of the child on the 7th. But anyway, there is a discussion of fiqh in that. His Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's hair reached his earlobe when he let it grow. And this hadith says earlobe, other hadith say right till the shoulder. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Azhar al-lawn. His face was beautiful and bright. We'll carry on from there, inshallah. This is the beauty of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Who was the poet who used to describe Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's beauty? Many poets, but famously Hazrat Hassan ibn Thabit radiyallahu anhu. He describes Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He says, وَأَحْسَنُ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَرَ قَطُّ عَيْنِي وَأَجْمَلُ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَلِدِ النِّسَاءُ خُلِقْتَ مُبَرَّأً مِنْ كُلِّ عَيْبِ كَأَنَّكَ قَدْ خُلِقْتَ كَمَا تَشَاءُ. He would say, more beautiful than you, O my Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, my eye has never seen. More magnificent than you, no woman has given birth to. You've been created free from every blemish, O my Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It's as though you were created how you wanted to be created. As though you asked Allah how you should be, and on your request Allah Ta'ala created you. This is the beauty and the perfection of Janabi Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Outward beauty and inward beauty. Khalq and khuluq. Allah give us akhlaq.